What's up, Hawk fans? We are back again this week. We had a really good week last week for UFC Mexico. We went 10-2 on the fighters picks, so we're gonna try to do that again this week. If you remember last week, there was that whole beard thing going on because I thought it might make me bypass the Dagestan years that I would have to serve. I thought it would just automatically make me a wrestler, but I was on the phone with Khabib, and he told me that's not the case. I'm paraphrasing, but his exact words were, "Brother, this is not like job application, when either bachelor degree or 5-year experience. No, basically, I had to actually go to Dagestan for 2-3 years and train. The beard alone wasn't enough to just get me to that experience. Fair enough, no arguments there. He's right. I can't just grow a beard and magically become a top-notch wrestler. Well, anyways, we're going to move on to this week's fights. This is a fight night again. It's headlined by Josh Emmett, and he's going against Lerone Murphy. Before we start off, there were a couple fights that were scrapped. One of them was the Martin Buday versus Kennedy Nechukwu. I hope I pronounced it right. If I didn't, I'm sorry. But I guess Kennedy needed to pull out for either he's sick or injury. So they gave Martin Buday a different opponent, Lerone Baldiev, and we'll go over that as it goes on. I think it's the second fight on the prelims. Anyways, we'll get to that soon. And another fight that was actually fully scrapped was it was Danielle Santos versus Davy Grant. That one has been scrapped as well. So there's only going to be, it's going to go from a total of 13 fights to 12 fights for Saturday's card. Now, let's start off with the first fight on the on the prelims. That's going to be Vanessa Demopoulos versus Talita Alencar. So Vanessa, we're going to go over her last few fights. She beat Emily Ducote in May of 2024, then lost against Jacqueline Amorim. That was in September again of 2024. I think she is going to have another loss again. And I think let's go over Talita's last couple of fights as well. I want to do that. Beat Rando Santos and then lost to Stephanie Luciano. And then, we're going Talita here. I think Vanessa's fighting days are over. She might go back to her old profession. No disrespect there, but, it is what it is. But we're going Talita here. It's a pretty good line, -110. They're basically putting it at even. So I don't know if this would be a finish or by decision. So we're just going with the fighter for now, Talita Alencar. Next fight was Martin Buday. As I said earlier, he was supposed to fight Kennedy, but I guess Kennedy had to pull out. He's going against Lerone Baldiev. Now, I've seen few different odds for this card, for this fight so far. And they've been quite far apart. I saw one where it was like giving -350 odds for Martin Buday, and then I see another one that was a lot lower, which was -150. So these ones, we're going to basically play with the odds here. I see the one I'm looking at right now is plus 280 for Sati Baldiev, and I would say that's very good odds right there. However, if you're not getting a good line as much close to that, and if you're only getting a plus 130 odd, then I would probably stay away from this fight because you're not going to get good money odds there. Ultimately, I'm going to go with the underdog here just because I have to make a pick. I'm going to go Lerone here. And let's move on to the next fight. By the way, I always try to remind you guys, I go in the order of the prelims and the main card as it's scheduled currently while I'm shooting this video. Keep in mind, these are always subject to change. Fights get canceled, or UFC might just want to change the order on things, and so I'm just going in the order of what it currently is. Next fight, we got Victor Henry. He's going up against Pedro Falcao. Victor Henry did beat Ronnie Yahya back in April of 2024 last year, but he did lose more recently to Charles Jourdain. It was by submission in round 2. And then Pedro Falcao, let's see what his last couple fights were. He had 2 fights in 2024, lost against Victor Hugo in April, and then he beat Christian Guzman. However, the Christian Guzman fight was not a UFC MMA fight. It was I guess it was a grappling match. It was like a UFC, you know how UFC Fight Pass, I don't know if you guys have been fans for a long time or not, but they do different stuff. They have like jiu-jitsu matches, they have wrestling, grappling matches. It's not just MMA. But yeah, anyways, this wasn't an MMA fight. So his last MMA fight, he did lose by decision against Victor Hugo. Prior to that, he was on a good win streak, 5 fights back to back. Most recent win being against Leonardo Morales. All right, this one's a tough one. I feel like it is a good matchup, but I think Victor Henry's gonna take this one. Current odds are at for Victor Henry, it is minus 200. We're gonna take this one. I feel confident about Victor Henry winning this bout. I think it'll be by decision. Let's see what the over-unders are. They have it at 2.5. Over is minus 265, reasonably so. And that's what we're doing here. Next fight, we got Loma Lukbunmi versus Stella Nunez. All right. Loma's been on quite a win streak. I mean, she's basically beaten well-known female fighters. Only loss being against Lupa Godinez. Prior to that, and that was back in 2021. So her only losses, really, at least in the UFC, were against Angela Hill back in 2020 and then Lupi Godinez back in 2021. She's been on a win streak since the Lupi Godinez lost. She beat Denise Gomez, Elise Reed, Bruna Brazil. Her last fight, though, was over a year ago. So she might have a bit of ring rust. I don't think so. Especially against this opponent who is on a 4-fight losing streak. And I'm confident it's going to be her 5th loss in a row. And, I mean, Easy decision here. We're going Loma Lookboonmee. Not much thought to it. Let's go to our next fight. We got Rice McKee. Not sure if it's Rice or Reese. I mean, I'm going to say Reese. It just sounds cooler. You guys can let me know in the comments what it is. Anyways, he is going up against Daniel Frunza. All right. So, Rice McKee is on a 2-fight skid. Lost to Angel Rusa. And then lost to Chidi. I always have problems with some of these names, but we're going to try. Joe Kwani. We're going to go with that. That was over a year ago. And, yeah, he's fighting against Daniel Frunza, who's on a winning streak. Let's take a look. I believe this is going to be he was on the Contender Series. That was his last win. So I guess this is his first UFC fight since that Contender Series. It's a tough one here. We're going Reese McKee. And I don't know if it's going to be by decision or by finish, but we're going Reese McKee over here. Next one, we got Diana Belbita. This fight's going to be the main event on the prelims. It was supposed to be the Davy Grant fight, but as I mentioned earlier, that fight got scrapped. So this is going to be the last fight on the prelims. Diana Belbita is going up against Dion Barbosa. I got an interesting one for you guys on this one. Yes, Belbita lost her last 2 fights. It was against Carolina, and then she lost another one against Molly McCann by armbar. Diane Barbosa also lost her last fight against Miranda Maverick. They're both coming off a loss, and I feel like I understand why it's such a big favorite for DNA, but I don't necessarily agree with it. I understand it, but I don't agree with this line. I'm going Diana Belbita here. I'm not going to be too confident on whether it's going to be a finish or by decision. But we're going Diana Belbita, and if I have to pick, I'm going by submission. And let's see what the current odds are for that. I know it's a big stretch. They have plus 700 for Diana Belbita. I'm taking that one. I don't know if you... Over under, as I said, it's 2.5. Usually is with these female fights. I mean, you could do it with the under, because as I said, I do think it's going to be by submission. But the submission can come late in the 3rd round, and stay away from that. I would definitely just go straight up money line. It's very good odds. Next fight, we're going to the main card. Torres Vinny versus Robert Valentine. Sorry. We're going Torres Vinny here. He's a very dominant fighter. Slams his opponents, undefeated. Not much thought to this. I know there will come a time when Torres Finney's durability and talent is going to be tested, but it's not going to be here. He's going to beat Robert Valentin. And as I said, he will get tested eventually, but not this week. And not against Robert. So, easy money line decision, Robert Finney. Again, we're not... The thing with these fights, it could go many different ways. I don't usually like to pinpoint if it's going to be by decision or by finish unless I feel very confident on it. So we're going to stay away from the over-under there. Next fight, we got Ode Osborne versus Luis Gurule. We're going Luis Gurule here. He's on a pretty good, he's undefeated, never lost. He was also on the Contender Series. So this is his first UFC fight after the Contender Series. He's going up against Ode Osborne, who is on a 3-fight losing streak. Lost to Asual Mabayev, and then his most recent loss was in September against Ronaldo Rodriguez. Yeah, easy pick here. We're going Luis Gurule. Let's see what the line is currently for that. Currently minus 265. I don't really like the odds there. I think it should be a way closer line. Maybe like a minus 180, but it is what it is. We're still taking Luis on this one. Next fight, we got Brad Tavares versus Gerald Meerschaert. I love this fight because it is very evenly matched. They're both their, records lately are like on and off, wins, losses. Both somewhat veterans. I want to watch this fight and enjoy the fight. So I don't like to, make a decision or a bet on a fight that I'm actually trying to enjoy. But for the purposes of this video, I have to pick. So we're going Gerald Meerschaert as an underdog. He is currently at, let's take a look, plus 140. So he's not that big of an underdog. So they are close. Brad Tavares, they got at minus 160. Gerald Meerschaert plus 140. We're going Gerald Meerschaert. Could be by submission. We're going to go Gerald Meerschaert by submission. I don't know what round, but, however the fight plays out. Next fight we got Cortavius Romeus versus Chung Ho Lee. This is another good fight that I'm looking forward to. We're going to go... Let's see. Last fight for Chung Ho Lee was in June of 2024, which he won by decision. And then Cortavius fought on the Contender Series in August of 2024, which he won. Then he lost against Gaston Bolanos in November. So it's a tough pick, but I think based on their current status, I'm going Chung Ho Lee here. I think today he's the better fighter. That could change in the future. But right now, Chung Ho Lee is the better fighter. We're picking him to win. Likely by decision. but I would normally stay away from the over-under on this one. Chung Ho Lee is the favorite, but not by much. He's at minus 145. Cortavius is at plus 125. We're going Chung Ho Lee here. All right. And then we have the co-main event next, which is Pat Sabatini versus Joanderson Brito. Pat Sabatini's been doing pretty well. His last loss was back in 2023. That was against Diego Lopez. I mean, he's on a five-fight winning streak, including against Nico Price, which was a grappling match. It wasn't a UFC MMA fight, but again, his first fight in the UFC was against Jonathan Pierce, which he won by submission. And then won another one against Herbert Burns in grappling. Same with Peter Fazekas. So let's try to get away from those grappling matches on these stats. Let's just stick to UFC MMA. His MMA fight, his first one was against Jonathan Pierce, which he won by submission. And then Joanderson Brito, let's take a look at what he did. Last fight was against William Gomez, which he lost by decision. And prior to that, he beat Jonathan Pierce and Jack Shore in 2023 and 2024, respectively. Let's see what odds we have here. We have plus 200 for Pat Sabatini, minus 230 for Joanderson Brito. We're going with the underdog here with Pat Sabatini. All right. Moving on to the main event. We got Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy. All right. Josh Emmett. I mean, if you're a UFC fan, you've seen a lot of his fights because he's been around for a while. If you're new into this, then I'll try to go over it a little bit. He was showing a lot of promise, Josh Emmett. I mean, he's beat a lot of guys, fought a lot of guys. He beat Shane Burgess, Danny Ye, Calvin Kattar. These are all big names. And then lost to Yair Rodriguez, and he also lost. That was when he fought against Yair Rodriguez. That was for the interim belt, if I remember correctly. And then after that, he lost to Ilya Topuria. So we can't. These losses. I mean, there's nothing to judge him on. You know, Ilya Topuria was the champion. Knocked out Volkanovski, knocked out Holloway, and basically let go of his belt to move on to lightweight recently. We can't really judge him too harsh on those fights. His last fight, though, was a win against Bryce Mitchell. We all remember what happened there. It wasn't a pretty scene at the end of it. But, yeah, he's coming off a very strong knockout against Bryce Mitchell. And then moving on to Lerone Murphy, just, he's undefeated, 15-0. It's quite a bit of UFC fights on his record. Most recently, beating in 2024, beating Edson Barbosa and Dan Ige. Both of them were by decision. We're going Lerone Murphy here. I think, Josh Emmett has punching power, but I think Lerone Murphy might come out on top here. I don't think there's going to be any finish. I don't think anyone's getting knocked out here or submitted. But I think Lerone Murphy will win by decision, and it would be a decisive win. So that's what we have here. And that's it for this card. By the way, earlier when I was talking about the convo with Khabib, that never happened. That was complete BS. Never talked to him. I don't have his number. He doesn't have mine either. Love Khabib. I think I had him on the GOAT list, except I think Islam has kind of started to surpass him, but it's okay. It was under the circumstances, and Khabib did retire a bit early under his circumstances. Nothing there. But anyways, just wanted to say, yeah, got rid of the beard. And we're going to try to do this every week for their fights. I'll also be going over different news and topics that come up, even if it's not giving my picks and decisions. Just, random news that comes up, such as Cain Velasquez. I'm going to start selling t-shirts that are related to Cain Velasquez. Next time I make a video, I'll wear one of them, and then I'll give you guys a link on where you guys could buy them. That's it for today, though. Enough of me talking to myself, and I'm kidding. I'm not talking to myself. I'm talking to you guys, the most awesome people in the world. Hopefully, you guys did make some money last week. As I said, we did go 10-2 on the fighter picks. We're gonna try to do good again this week and every week after that. So before I end this video, I'm gonna do a very quick rundown again for all my picks this week, and I'll go in order. So we're doing Toledo All-In-Car to win. Next one, we're going Yuron Sati-Baldiev. Next, we're going Victor Henry, Loma Lukbunmi, Reese McKee. Again, I'm not sure how to pronounce that one. Diana Belbita, which is a big underdog. Get some money on that one. Next one, we're doing Torres Finney, Luis Gurul, Gerald Mearshart, Chung Ho Lee, Pat Sabatini, and then Lerone Murphy. Those are my picks for this week. Go out, make your bets, get some good odds on it, make that money. Let's try to do good again this week. See you guys soon.